Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we're going to be reacting to
25 reasons you should never visit continental Croatia. So I think we've done Croatia, period, like as a whole country. Now this is continental. So let's see.
Travel quite a lot around the country, and so back in 2017 I decided to do another version of that idea, 25 reasons why you should never visit continental Croatia. So the first reason never to visit continental Croatia is because the locals are Neanderthals. One of the biggest finds of the Neanderthal culture in the whole of Europe was in Krapina, just west of Zagreb, and an amazing...
That's interesting. I actually just saw a post on Reddit about where the Neanderthals lived, and they were like kind of like in the... Croatia is in that region too, but like I always kind of thought Neanderthals would be more like up north in Europe, but they were actually no, they were like mid-south. That mid-south Europe kind of encompassed Turkey too, a little bit of the Middle East. Not where I thought they would be, but that's interesting he's mentioning that.
Amazing museum opened up in 2010, which has been won numerous awards internationally. It really documents a timeline of both the universe, the Earth, and mankind, with a particular emphasis on the Neanderthal period. And I think it's extremely well done. It's one of the best things I've seen in Croatia. The second reason never to visit continental Croatia is because they murder tourists on trains, which is not very friendly, is it? One of the most famous murders in history occurred on a train between Vinkovci and Slavonski Brod, and this was the setting for Hercule Poirot's murder on the Orient Express. The actual
I mean, he's being serious, but this was probably happened like 60 years ago or something.
Setting in the film was in a very mountainous area, whereas Slavonski Brod to Vinkovci is one of the flattest places on the world. A few years ago, the people of Strijevojina decided that they were going to open their own Agatha Christie museum. I actually went there to go and look for it and couldn't find it, and I felt a little bit self-conscious because people were staring at me, so perhaps it exists, perhaps it doesn't, I'm not quite sure. The third reason never to visit continental Croatia is because their waterfalls don't work. If you go in December, you'll see waterfalls with no water moving, because places like Plitvice Lakes, UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1979, have the most incredible four seasons, and if you go in the winter time, all the waterfalls are frozen, and they have the most spectacular vistas and stuff.
That's cool.
That is cool to see the... Now, because we reacted in the summer, but I wonder if there's a video of the same park in the winter. Kind of see what kind of look. That's so interesting. I didn't even think about it.
No ice skating.
I know, right? That's so interesting, wow.
So you can see some great photos here from Mario Romulic, who's photographed this area superbly. Number 4, the locals have been drunk for over 5,000 years. There is a huge tradition and culture that dates back thousands and thousands of years in continental Croatia, mostly around the Indo-European Vucedol culture. One of the amazing finds that they found there, apart from the Orion original Indo-European calendar, was proof and pottery of a beer-making tradition going back 5,000 years. This is a civilization that has been going for many, many years. And so the more you go around continental Croatia, the more you see that this is a region of fantastic tradition going back thousands of years. Number 5. People look really weird, especially the locals. If you go to Varaždin in August, you have an amazing 10-day festival called Fest. It's the biggest street festival in Croatia. It goes on for 10 days. It's full of incredible street acts. So the Varaždin Old Town is one of the most beautiful and best preserved in all of Croatia. And the whole place just comes alive with incredible costumes, incredible things that people are doing. And if you've never been, I really recommend you put in your diary to go to this Fest. It's fantastic. Number 6, they make the most incredible claims about history. For example, in Vinkovci, they claim it's the oldest continuously inhabited town in Europe, dating back 8,300 years.
I feel we've heard this fact in one of the other reactions. For whatever reason, I remember it. I think we've seen this before.
This is a town of a lot of tradition. This is where, very close to Vucedol, this in the European culture. This is where they found the Orion calendar. This is where 2 Roman emperors were born, for example. So there's a lot of tradition in Vinkovci. That area of eastern Croatia really is a fascinating place. And if you're into metal detecting, it's an incredible place to find things that are very, very ancient indeed. Their wine is far too posh to be served at your wedding, I'm sorry. This is a region where they provided some of the wines for the coronation of Queen Elizabeth in 1953.
Okay.
This is where they also provided the same wine for Prince Harry and for Prince William when they got married. So they have a tradition of producing wines for the British monarchy. And this is all from a winery called Iločki Podrum, which is one of the most easternmost wineries in Croatia, and they've been making wine there since the Roman times. You have to be very careful when you're in continental Croatia, because you could die of thirst crawling through the Croatian Sahara Desert. Yes, indeed, but there is a desert in northern Croatia just outside of Đurđevac. It's not very big, but it does exist. It's a natural phenomenon. In a very interesting marketing ploy.
Would have never thought that they would have a desert in Croatia. Wow, that's so interesting.
A few years ago, the mayor of Đurđevac went out and bought a family of 3 camels, mum, dad and little child, and they are now housed permanently just outside the tiny little old town of Đurđevac. But it's an incredible thing just to go and have this walk through this desert called the Croatian Sahara. Number 9, they fight wars with live roosters. One of my favourite stories about the Croatian resistance of the Ottoman attacks over the years was in the tiny little town of Đurđevac. It's a very, very small, probably one of the smallest old towns in the whole of Croatia. The story went that the Ottomans were besieging the small town, that all their heroic defenders were doing what they could, but they were running out of food. And it came that this old lady came and said, you know, there's only 1 live rooster left, and then we have nothing more to eat. And so the decision was taken that what they would do is they would put this live rooster into a cannon and fire it at the Turks. And when the Turks saw that they were actually firing live chickens at them, they realised that they must have so much food in there that this siege was going to take forever. And so the Turks gave up and they left. And so that was the end of the siege. This event is...
That is so random and so interesting. I've never heard of it, or I would never even come up with this. That's so wild.
Commemorated every year with the Pizzochiada, which was rather unfortunately mistranslated this year as a cockfest. Number 10, they have welcoming villages with names such as You've Been Poisoned. There is a wonderful, wonderful place called Otrovanec, just outside of Virovitica, which is home to the first ever rural tourism business in Croatia, which was started about 45 years ago, I think, by this guy who one day decided that he would go to Germany, as a lot of people did back in the 1970s, and he would work, and he was going to send his money back, as people did. What actually happened was after 7 days he came back and he decided that he knew everything about tourism and restaurants and everything, and he decided to open his own restaurant in Otrovanec. His wife thought he was crazy, everyone thought he was crazy, and over the years, Zlatni Klas has been one of the outstanding examples of excellence for rural tourism in Croatia. The family have built up an incredible accommodation units. They have fabulous food. Their speciality is stinging nettles. So you can have...
Rural tourism is cool overall, just like very, to run away from the city, to kind of relax, like in a little lodge, or kind of just very different lives. It's pretty cool.
And yeah, green pancakes from nettles, nettle soup, nettle bread. It's all, and it's really.
What is nettle? I don't know what nettle is.
I don't know.
Seems like some sort of grain or something. Nettles. It's a plant, but stinging. Oh, we have shitload of them in Lithuania. You've seen them before?
Is that in English, nettle?
Yeah, nettles is in English. I guess they're not common here. That's interesting. Yeah, it stings. It's kind of annoying. It's just like a jellyfish bites.
Really, really tasty, really fresh, and they have lots of things on for the kids, including horse riding. It's the only place for events in the whole local area, and so they have about every weekend they have weddings and they have conferences and so on like that. It's on the motorbike trail of Europe. So
cool place, like rural tourism, a cool place to have a wedding.
All these bikers come through going down to Albania. It's the most incredible place, lovely people. And the reason it's called Otrovanec is because, again, those pesky Ottomans were coming and they were about to take Otrovanec. There was a small little lake in front. And so they decided that what they would do was poison the lake in the hope that all the horses from the Turks would start drinking the water, which is what happened. And so the Turks went away, Otrovanec kept its name, and...
How much...
Go ahead with the question.
How much poison do you need to poison the whole lake?
Yeah.
feels like a shitload to look as, you know, it's not like a water bottle, it's a whole lake. Wow. What you want to say?
That's my question.
It's a real hidden gem, and I really recommend you try it. Number 11, if you spend too much time in continental Croatia, you will turn into a pumpkin way before midnight. This is a region where if olive oil is the king down in Dalmatia and Istria, then pumpkin oil is what rules in continental Croatia.
Pumpkin oil, I've never heard of pumpkin oil. Pumpkin even has fat like that to make oil out of it? That's so interesting.
There is even a bucciada in Ivanić every year where they celebrate and have a big pumpkin festival. And you can try all kinds of things, including pumpkin beer. Actually, I tried that time, and it was really tasty. I should have to say. And my top tip with pumpkin oil, and it might sound a bit weird, but it's fantastic. Is vanilla ice cream with a little bit of pumpkin oil on top. It's absolutely delicious. Number 12, if you go and visit continental Croatia in the winter months, you have to be very careful because Elsa from Frozen might turn you into ice. Places like Trakošćan Castle are incredibly beautiful places, and when the snow comes, they look exactly like the palaces that appeared in Frozen. And perhaps actually the inspiration for that movie came from continental Croatia. Beautiful. Number 13, they are so crazy about construction in continental Croatia that it takes over 3 million bricks just to build one building. If you go to Osijek Cathedral, it's the second...
3 million bricks, I mean, sounds like a lot, but if you're talking the huge cathedral, it's hard to estimate for us non-construction folks how many bricks in like regular building,
tallest church in Southeast Europe, I think, after Zagreb, and it's 90 meters high, I think. But it took an incredible 3 million bricks to construct it. And
I would think so. Look at that building. That building is huge.
It's an incredible example of architecture done when it was built. I mean, amazing place to visit. Imagine a region where people used to get by digging for gold. On the Drava River, there is a very long-standing tradition of gold panning. The sad thing is that nobody got rich, though. Just 3 years before he died, I met the last ever surviving gold panner, a guy called Mate Horvat, who was 94 years old, got into the River Drava and gave us all a demonstration of how they used to do the gold panning. And he did this for most of his life, and this was a way of life, and it's now sadly stopped. But nobody ever got rich from doing it. So if you want to go to continental Croatia expecting to get rich from the gold panning, go somewhere else. Number 15, they make rakia from anything. Really? It's one of the most dangerous places I've been in my life in terms of drinking. You cannot go to Slavonia without being doused in rakia. I came back from a 6-day trip and I really felt that I've been marinated in rakia. They drink rakia from everything and they drink it with everything. It's just such a hospitable way. There was even a rakia festival in a village called Baradanac in Baranja. I mean, what could possibly go wrong in a rakia festival? But the rakia is made from all kinds of things. It's extremely good quality. When you go to Slavonia, you have to expect to be offered rakia, and you're going to have some very, very flavoursome drinks to try. Their names don't really translate, and so one of my favourite things about place names in Croatia, there's some very funny ones which we'll cover in a later video, is the town of Krapina. Now, I want you to imagine that you are British and you see the word Krapina and you try and pronounce that as you would in English. And then if you go to the south of Krapina, in Croatian, south is Jug, J-U-G. Now imagine that you try and say that in English. What a destination. Crap in a jug. And the funny thing is...
Crap in a jug. That's funny, crap in a jug.
That they actually have in Krapina a brown jug as one of the mementos of the destination. Number 17. The locals have some really, really crazy ideas. This is the region where a chap called Nikola Tesla was born, in the village of Spiran.
Yeah, we saw that. They're very innovative. That I guess that's what you were referring to.
On the Austro-Hungarian military frontier back when he was born, and is now in modern-day Croatia. He, of course, went on and had some incredible ideas and actually changed the world. So the inspiration of continental Croatia played a big part in his early upbringing. Number 18. The fish in continental Croatia swim very, very far from the sea. If you go to Karlovac about 4 or 5 years ago, or one of the best aquariums and museums, fish museums in this region opened, and it's a fantastic day out, and you can really have a fantastic family experience before exploring the rest of Karlovac. Number 19, the vegetable shopping is extreme. When I was in Manchester, I'd buy a kilo of tomatoes and a kilo of cucumbers, that kind of thing. But in continental Croatia, you drive along and there are people with just sacks of 20 kilos of everything. People are driving past and they just put 20 kilos of everything in there. The thing about life in Croatia is everything is done seasonally. So when it's the paprika season in Baranja, for example, you have all these old ladies and they're just carrying, on their shoulders, just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of bits of paprika. It's an incredible thing to see. And the thing is, the food is extreme.
I mean, that all makes sense, but potatoes, they don't really go bad if you store them cold, so that's fine. But like cucumbers, they would go bad, so I'm not exactly sure what you do with all that food. But the seasonality makes sense. I'm in Lithuania, everything is seasonal, so. Okay, I know what you make. Because in Lithuania, you make like jams and like, for example,
cucumber?
No, not cucumber, like apples, for example. You like come up with shit to make. You make applesauce, apple chips, apple cheese.
I want to try apple cheese. It sounds good.
Yeah, it's like all kinds of shit. So I assume they kind of like get creative with that too.
Extremely tasty and extremely fresh, and it's much, much better than you're going to find in the supermarkets of Manchester. Number 20, if you go to continental Croatia, there is no such thing as a quiet song. These guys go nuts. The tamburashi, when they get playing, they just go on forever. And they have the accordion, they have all these different music, and they just sing, and they sing, and they sing, and they drink their gemisht and their rakia. And quite often these tamburashi, they will play all night. So you can find them just going on for about 6, 7, 8 hours, and it's just it's a phenomenal thing to do, and it really brings communities together. And if you have a party like that, you're not going to go to bed very early. They think that they can teach Jimi Hendrix a thing or two about guitars. One of the rather unusual finds I found in Varaždin is that the 10-string guitar was invented by a Croat, Ivan Pavlovits.
Never seen a guitar like that. That's so interesting.
Back in the 19th century. And so if you go to the Varaždin tourist board in the centre of town, you can actually see that original guitar there. And for many years they had this wonderful festival, the Flying Guitars Festival, where they brought international guitarists from all around the world to play. It was,
do you think he does like several videos like this in one sitting?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know how he comes up with his topics about Croatia.
Well, this one he wrote an article for, so maybe like he has maybe the articles that he has written, he kind of turned them into videos. Because some people prefer to consume the information in videos than read it. So maybe that's what he does.
Very excellent festival. They put sparkling water into their wine at every opportunity. If you go to
that actually sounds pretty good. Sparkling water in the wine.
Dalmatia, you'll find a drink called bavanda, where they put red wine and still water. But if you go to continental Croatia, the absolute king is gemisht. And this is a mixture of white wine and sparkling water, and they drink it by the gallon. Once you get in,
it's like sparkling wine. This sounds interesting.
To a gemisht fest, there's no going out of it and stuff, and these guys can really drink all night. It's an incredibly dangerous situation to get into. Not as bad as the rakia in Slavonia, but pretty amazing. And quality of the gemisht is pretty good. Number 23, they have all kinds of weird food. Slavonia, for example, is very, very much a meat destination, and nothing is wasted. They have really, really fantastic specialities from different parts of the meat. The most interesting thing I had when I was up there was goat brain kebab, which was a tough one for me to actually contemplate, but it was actually delicious when I went down there. But the food is very hearty, the hospitality.
I don't think I've ever had any brain, not just goat. Have you?
No. Brain?
Brain, yeah. I didn't even know. Yeah, people eat all kinds of stuff, wow.
It's sensational, the wines are excellent, and nobody comes home from Slavonia particularly hungry. It's not possible. Number 24, they think their horses are better than yours. If you go to Jakovo, you will find the world-famous stud farm for the Lipizzaner horses. They've been there for many, many years, and they are some of the finest horses in the world. Back in 1972, Queen Elizabeth II came on a state visit to former Yugoslavia. One of the places she went to go was to see the Lipizzaner horses, and Tito was with her, and all the locals were very grateful. Because of her visit, Tito built an asphalt road, so that was the big thing. But the horses are phenomenal. You can go and visit the stables just outside of town, or they also have the hippodrome in the middle of town, and they have various events there. It's a beautiful place. The horses are absolutely spectacular. And finally, number 25, continental Croatia. You will never have a romantic story that beats anything that comes from continental Croatia, because we have this wonderful story of
They
have two storks.
We've seen this, yeah.
Yes, he loves this story.
Yeah. which I previously said were from Sisak. My apologies. They're actually from just outside Slavonski Brod. And Malina had a broken wing, and so she could never fly. And so every year Klepetan used to go down to Africa in the winter, and every year he used to come back. And it was a national news story every time that Klepetan came back, and it was a really beautiful love story until sadly one of them died a couple of years ago. And that's it.
Alright, that's it.
Guys, of course, let us know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Join the Discord. And as always, share as much kindness as possible.